Finally, the carriage came to a halt. Opening the door, Mr. Ambrose revealed the staircase leading up to her. Was it a royal palace? It certainly looked like one, towering above us almost as high as Empire House, with finely crafted statues of ancient Egyptian kings decorating the facade and blooming gardens all around. But the words, Luxor Hotel, over the entrance, and the uniformed porter already waiting to take our cases, indicated something other than a royal residence. You spend enough money to rent rooms in this place. I raised an eyebrow at Mr. Ambrose. Are you sure you're feeling well? Surprisingly, he didn't try to bite my head off. No, he simply nodded and said, it was necessary. Suspicion rose in me like a firework rocket. When Mr. Ambrose deemed luxury necessary, something was fishy. Necessary. For what? For our disguise. We have to fool Dalglish's agents. Remember, we have to make them believe that I am not Mr. Rickard Ambrose, not the man they have been instructed to look for. Come. I don't see what that has to do with. Come, I said, and taking me by the hand, he pulled me from the coach, steering me up the steps of the hotel. The driver was left looking after the luggage. We entered a luxurious lobby filled with marble columns and chandeliers, at the end of which stood a portly man behind a dark wood counter. He didn't have the same sallow expression as sallow face back home, preferring instead to pester the world with an ingratiating smile, but I immediately recognized him as a colleague of the sour watchdog that guarded Mr. Ambrose's front hall. This was the head porter. Welcome to the Luxor Hotel, he proclaimed, rubbing his smarmy little hands. Where we fulfill your every fantasy of an exotic holiday while providing every comfort civilized society can offer. Might I inquire after your name, sir? Richard Thompson, Mr. Ambrose lied with a cool ease that I just had to admire. There is a suite reserved in my name here. Only one suite, to share. The porter's eyebrows rose. Yes, there is a suite in your name reserved here, Mr. Thompson, but I hope you will not find it impertinent of me to ask what your relationship with this young lady here is. He bowed to me, and his little pig eyes sparkled with curiosity for scandal. I sighed. It was just as I had told Mr. Ambrose. A man traveling alone with a girl. Such a thing was beyond scandalous. It was unthinkable. Unless of course the two of them happened to be. I froze, horrified realization washing over me. My eyes flew down to the rings on my fingers, the rings Mr. Ambrose had insisted I put on. This, he said, taking me by the hand and planting a gentle kiss on my cheek, is Lillian, my lovely wife. The art of suggestive name-calling. I showed admirable self-restraint. I actually managed not to kill him right there in the hotel lobby. Be strong, I told myself, while a jabbering boy in hotel livery led us through the hallways of the Luxor. Brutus planned and schemed for months before finally killing Julius Caesar. If some measly Roman general can wait that long, you can keep a grip on yourself until we reach the hotel room and the door is shut. We reached a door made from the same dark wood as the front desk. A large and ornate number 79 shone on the polished surface. With more jabbering, the nervous boy opened the door for us and showed us in. I hardly glanced at the magnificent hallway of the suite. My focus was all on the man who had entered before me and was now turning to face me. The boy said something else in Arabic. I didn't listen, but instead kept my full focus on Mr. Ambrose. Send him away, I growled at him. Maybe it wasn't the wisest thing to try and give Rickard Ambrose orders, but right now I didn't give a penny about wise. Mr. Ambrose nodded to the boy and jerked his head, coolly. The youth didn't need any more encouragement. He was out of the door without even trying to get a tip. For 2 or 3 seconds, there was a heavy silence in the room, at least 10 tons and 762 pounds worth of silence. I stared at Mr. Ambrose. Mr. Ambrose stared at me. Wife, I repeated. He cocked his head, and shrugged. Shrugged. I repeated very slowly and clearly, I'm your wife. I do not believe I had ever managed to make my voice sound this deadly dangerous before. I was like a female tiger with fire in my belly. He didn't seem to notice or care, but simply looked at me with those cool, dark eyes of his. I told you, we have to be inconspicuous. My voice failed me for just a moment. If I murder you and hang your body from the balcony, will that be inconspicuous? You will do nothing of the kind. You are much too happy to murder anyone. Happy? Was he delusional, or on drugs? Of course you are, he informed me in a tone as if he were explaining that 1 + 1 made 2. Deliriously happy. After all, you're on your honeymoon with the man of your dreams, my dear. Honeymoon. I didn't seem able to do anything but incredulously repeat his last words. I should have thrown something at him, or slapped him, but all I could do was stare open-mouthed. On your honeymoon. You're on your honeymoon with Rickard Ambrose. Yes, he told me, his face about as emotional as a slab of granite. We had what I believe is commonly referred to as a whirlwind romance. Losing much of our sanity in the process, we fell passionately in love and got married in a small village near London not a week ago. We are a wasteful and completely irresponsible couple who actually went so far as to spend money on a frivolous pleasure trip called a honeymoon. Although our marriage has already lasted more than a week, we are somehow, miraculously, still filled with love, tenderness, passion and similar superfluous emotions. You've been planning this all along, I whispered. If I decided to come along, you were going to use me like this from the very start. Oh yes. Why this damn charade? He fixed me with his ice-cold eyes. Simple, you and I both know that the agents of Lord Dalglish are watching the port. They probably have been given my description, and yours, too. No matter how I disguise myself as a tradesman, an army officer, a beggar, my disguise will be penetrated, and we will be hunted down. Even if I arrive as an oriental pash with an elephant, 10 peacocks and a horde of servants in tow, Dalglish will find out who I am sooner or later. He knows me too well, and precisely because he knows me well, there is only one thing he will never ever expect, me arriving in the company of a girl. He took a step towards me, his eyes boring into me. Especially, he continued, his voice dropping for a murmur, a girl I am in love with. Raising his hand, he stroked a finger down my cheek, once. My heart stopped beating. Really, honestly, it did. Then it started up again, at twice its usual pace, doing its best to jump right out of my chest. Love. Suddenly, I realized how very, very close he was standing. His dark eyes were wide and stormy as the open sea. It felt as if I could fall right into them, and this time, I would not escape drowning. I would not want to. Dark eyes, deep eyes, loving eyes. Could it really be? My skin was suddenly tingling all over, the air crackling with expectation. A girl I am in love with. So, he told me, stepping back, his tone suddenly businesslike again. You see why we have to pretend to feel this ridiculous emotion towards each other, don't you? My heart screeched to an abrupt halt. Pretend. Of course, Lily, this is all part of his scheme. Why the hell would you think that Rickard Ambrose would ever be interested in marrying you? And, more to the point, why would you feel disappointed that he isn't? Maybe because, as a wife, I would have prime murder opportunities. Yes, that had to be it. I could smother him with a pillow, or slip a little something into his nightcap, or Or, the possibilities were endless. If looks alone could kill, Mr. Rickard Ambrose would certainly have been nothing but a smouldering pile of ashes right now. Tell me, I ground out between clenched teeth, that you aren't serious. He cocked his head. This continued insistence on your part that I am prone to jesting is getting out of hand. So far, have I displayed a tendency to pleasantry of any kind? No. There you are. I have explained my plan to you, and the reasons behind it. We have to hide from Dalglish's agents. So for now, to anyone who asks, we are Mr. and Mrs. Thompson, a happy couple of newlyweds from Hazelmere. Hazelmere. A picturesque little village in Buckinghamshire, just the sort of place newlyweds come from. But, I spluttered, I can't pretend to be your wife. He seemed surprised by this. Why not? All you need to do is wear a ring. That's not what I meant, last you. I meant I can't pretend to be in love with you. Why? I stared at him in disbelief. Was he serious? God, why was I asking myself that? He was Rickard Ambrose. Of course he was serious. He was also completely and utterly nuts if he thought I was going along with this. Apart from the fact that it was a dastardly trick of yours to force me into this without asking my permission first. He nodded, clearly impatient. Yes, apart from that, of course. My hands twitched, itching to reach for his neck. Breathe, Lily, breathe deeply and slowly. Murder is probably against the law in Egypt. Well, Mr. Ambrose demanded, his gold gaze raking over me as if we were back in his office in London and I was taking too long with sorting through a couple of files. Why can't you pretend to be utterly and deliriously in love with me? It shouldn't be hard. I am me, after all, and you a female. My mouth dropped open. The arrogant son of a... Why? Simple. Because. I hesitated. Bloody hell, it wasn't so simple, after all. Why exactly couldn't I pretend to be in love with him? It wouldn't exactly be the first time I had pretended or acted a role. I had pretended to be a secretary in male costume for weeks now. After that, a bride on her honeymoon shouldn't be that difficult, should it? There was only one problem. I wasn't just going to be a bride. I was going to be his bride, the bride of Mr. Rickard Ambrose. Assumed name or not, he was still he, and I was I. His eyes narrowed a fraction. Why? He demanded for the third and, I could tell from his tone, very last time. There was thunder threatening in his voice. Because I can't stand you. He shrugged. Irrelevant. Because I'm a feminist. Also irrelevant. I pay you to work for me, not to hold absurd political opinions. Taking a sudden step towards me, he forced me to retreat, his dark form towering above me. The aura of power radiating off his hard body was almost palpable. You will be my wife, Miss Linton, for the next few months. After that, you can feminize and frolic wherever and whenever you want. But for the next few months, you are mine. No. Yes, I wasn't fast enough. He was already close enough for me to feel his breath on my face, the force of his dark, sea-colored eyes pulling at my soul. You will. In. Before I could finish my denial, his finger was at my lip, cool, hard, implacable. Think very carefully before you speak, Miss Linton. There was a distinct note of threat in his voice. A shiver of mingled fear and excitement traveled down my spine. Remember your agreement, when you took my money. Do whatever I say, go wherever I command. Do you remember? Good God, had he been planning all this even then? What a stupid question. Of course he had. I swallowed. I remember. Well then, he bent down from his towering height, until I could feel the hard muscles of his chest against mine, and his mouth almost brushed my lips. I could barely breathe, so thick with delicious tension was the air around me. What is your answer, Miss Linton? Will you be my wife? Yes. The word was out of my mouth before I even had begun to think. I stood there, dazed, uncomprehending. Bloody hell, bloody stinking hell, how did that just come out of my mouth? And more importantly, why? Maybe, suggested a nasty little voice in my head, because he had phrased it just in that way, a way that almost sounded like a real proposal. No, that couldn't be the reason. Definitely not, because that would mean I really wanted to. That I would have said yes if he asked no. Absolutely not. Adequate. With a cool nod, Mr. Ambrose stepped back again, the pseudo-romantic tension in the air bursting like a bubble, leaving me reeling. Then we can get to the details of our disguise. The details? Yes. Blast him, how did he manage to keep his voice so businesslike when mine felt like breaking any moment? I cleared my throat. Details like what, sir? Like names and forms of address, of course. It is extremely unlikely, for instance, that a married couple would have enough sense to address one another by their surnames. And I doubt very much the female could be so well-mannered as to address her husband as, sir. Reaching up, he stroked his chin for a moment, a gesture of contemplation I had never seen before. Was there a slight crease between his eyebrows? But he never moved his facial muscles. What titanic struggle had to be taking place inside him? I waited, my anticipation rising. Finally, he growled and jerked his head in annoyance. He looked as if he had just received news that he had to part with £1,000 on the spot. There seems to be no way around it. For the duration of our stay in Egypt, I give you temporary leave to address me by my first name, Miss Linton. I blinked at him. This was what had been causing his emotional turmoil. How very gracious of you. Yes, I know. Married people really ought to have better manners. First names. Bah. Yes, terrible. You might get the idea that they actually liked each other. No reaction. Not for the first time I noticed that Mr. Rickard Ambrose was impervious to sarcasm. Probably using my first name won't even be enough, he added sourly. Newlyweds are notoriously uncourteous and informal. You had better use an abbreviated form to give an appropriate impression of conjugal familiarity. He considered the matter for a moment. Rick would be an acceptable choice. I thought about it for a moment, rolling the name around my tongue. Then, suddenly, an idea came to me, and a grin spread over my face. I'm sure there are other abbreviations for your lovely name. How about Dick? He gave me a glare that sent shivers down my back, but my smile only widened. Inside, I was rolling on the floor with laughter, gasping for air. Payback time. It's Rick, Miss Linton. No discussion. Just as you say, Dick. His glare cooled another dozen degrees. I'm your employer, Miss Linton. You are obligated to follow my orders. In return for his ferocious glare, I gave him back a cheerful smile. Apparently, you're not my employer. You're my husband now, Dick. Haven't you heard? My eyes were dancing. Good God, why had I been worried about this just a moment ago? This was brilliant. Wives lovingly tease their husbands all the time. It's the job. They also complain, argue and never shut up when they're supposed to. It's all part of the wonderful tapestry of married life. He took a deep breath. For a moment, I saw his little finger twitching, but then, in a movement so imperceptible you'd need a microscope to be sure it was there, one corner of his mouth lifted. Dear God, what? That couldn't be SM. He moved before I could finish the thought. Suddenly, he was right in front of me, his ice-hot energy crackling in the air around me. His dark eyes were burning. Glad to see you're embracing your role so thoroughly, wife. Thank you. Damn the stutter. That didn't come out nearly as sarcastically as it was supposed to. I stared up into his eyes, and he stared back, implacable, cold and very, very determined. Do you know, he murmured, slowly leaning towards me, what else is part of married life? I started to back away, but he moved with me, coming ever closer. No, what are you talking about? He ignored my question, moving closer still. Last, he was just a few inches away now, close enough for me to feel the heat of his skin and the freezing, calculating ice of his gaze, mingling in one irresistible maelstrom. Too close, far too close. Do you know, he breathed, what a married couple does all the time. Especially newlyweds, who have just found each other and are still discovering all the enticing possibilities. No, I snapped, I have no clue what you. He went for me. I didn't have a hope of avoiding him. His arms were around me in a millisecond, caging me in, and then his lips came crashing down on mine. They were soft, oh so soft, yet somehow incredibly hard and demanding. They were exactly as I remembered from his last kiss. Strange, considering you always thought that you hallucinated that one, right? Well, apparently I was pretty good at hallucinating realistically. Bloody hell. His mouth was voracious. It claimed mine in a race of burning need, sending shiver after shiver down my back, but shivers weren't strong enough for this. A shock followed in their wake, paralyzing me, making me go limp in his arms. Arms that were drawing me closer towards him, holding me against his rock-hard body. My knees gave way, and spots danced in front of my eyes like sparkling snowflakes. Blimey, was I hallucinating again? No, you idiot, you're not drunk this time. Wasn't I? I felt drunk, drunk with a delicious heat that filled my body from tip to toe, from lips to hair clips. I wanted more of it, more of him, desperately, but how? A strong, familiar hand slipped up behind my back, gripping my neck, holding it in place. His lips pressed harder against mine, forcing them open, and he plunged into my mouth with his. Oh God, so that's how. His tongue was like a spear of desire, my mouth a gaping wound that wanted me to die from bliss. Around the clashing of our mouths, a little moan escaped me. His tongue stroked, caressed, kept in constant motion, never ceasing the attack on me. Meanwhile, his lips kept busy, holding me prisoner with a persistent, intoxicating rhythm that sent waves of delicious heat through my body. How long did it go on? Minutes. Hours. Years. I didn't know, and I couldn't have cared less. I was in a daze. I felt like Tantalus must have felt when he pinched ambrosio from the table of the gods to see what the heavenly drink might taste like. I couldn't do or say anything, until finally, out of the steaming hot fog of my mind, slowly a thought appeared. What the heck is he doing? I wasn't sure. It seemed, technically, as though he was kissing me, but that couldn't happen in reality, could it? In drink-induced fantasies in which he and I temporarily lost our minds and forgot we hated each other's guts, maybe, but not in real life, for God's sake. That was impossible. Well, judging by the way he's massaging your quail pipe, 16, at the moment, it is very, very possible. Oh my God, he really was kissing me. Yes, you silly tart, so you had better do something about it, and right speedily. Of course, I had to. I was a thingamy, after all. Hey, what was it called again? With Mr. Ambrose's lips devouring mine it seemed rather hard to remember. Feminist, you're a feminist. Right, I was a feminist, and I couldn't just let random men kiss me. No, I couldn't, no matter how nice it felt to have his hands exploring my inner feminist screeched out in protest. Do something, now, right, so, what to do? Sliding my arms up, I pushed against Mr. Ambrose's chest. It had no effect whatsoever. I pushed harder. Still, nothing happened, except that is, for his tongue stroking over mine again, sending another wave of delirious heat through my body, making me shiver with. Concentrate, damn you, concentrate. On what did I have to concentrate again? Getting away, you want to get away from that bastard who is using you. Oh, that's right, I had almost forgotten that. Once more, I pushed, harder this time. When that still didn't yield any results, I clenched my hand, and let my fist fly. It thudded uselessly against Mr. Ambrose's rock-hard chest. Again, and again, I was pummeling him like a punching bag now, but his arms were still around me, and his lips, so soft, so seductive, still on mine. Damn him, he was as solid as a cliff, defying the waves of a thunderstorm. A cliff with a dozen splendidly naked male sirens on top, singing to me to come closer, to sink into the kiss, to stop fighting. No, my inner feminist screamed, bloody hell, no, do something. So I did. Reaching up, I slid my hands towards his head, grabbed hold of both his ears and pulled, hard. To judge by the growl that escaped him, that seemed to work much better at getting his attention than punching him had. He lurched back, freeing my lips for the first time in I don't know how long. I sucked in a deep breath, in preparation for the insults I was going to fling at him. He deserved it. He deserved every bad name in the book. How dare he kiss me like that? I opened my mouth to hurl the first expletive in his face, and then I was suddenly charging forward, kissing his face, his throat, his sculpted chin. Every part of him that I could reach. Good God, what the heck was I doing? Good question, that. What about your feminist principles? My hand slid up his hard body. For the first time since he had tackled me, I really had a chance to feel him, to explore the hard ridges of muscles under the black cotton. Blimey, to hell with my principles. How about this? I whispered sweetly, letting go of his earlobes with my hands and taking one between my teeth instead, gently nibbling. Is this part of married life, too, Dick? Do not, he growled, his deep, ice-cold voice vibrating all the way through my body, call me that. I smiled against his skin, pressing a soft kiss on his earlobe. Just as you say, Dick. Suddenly, I was flying. In my shock I didn't understand what was happening, only seeing vague shapes of furniture rushing by, and only feeling his hands around my waist, lifting me higher and higher. A moment later, my back slammed into the wall, driving all the breath out of me. I told you, he repeated, his voice even colder now, driving a hot surge of need up inside me, not to call me that. Understand? Why yes, sir. His eyes blazed, flaming fires reflected on a stormy ocean. What is my name as long as we are here, wife? Richard. Indeed it is, and for short. I contemplated the question for one breathless moment. Then, from between the wild strands of hair that had tumbled into my face, I grinned up at him, mischievously. Dick. He was on me in an instant. His tongue invaded my mouth, hungry and determined. I met it with my own this time, clashing, coiling, fighting for the right to rule. That didn't stop the hot waves of want from spreading down from my mouth all through my body. From the walls around us, the portraits of dignified Egyptian statesmen looked down at us disapprovingly. I couldn't give a flying fig for their opinion. Let them stare. I didn't even care for the moment that my inner feminist was swinging a protest sign. Later, I would care, I knew. Later, I would care like hell. But right now, he was kissing me and I was floating, blissfully. My blissful floating was interrupted by the sound of the door opening. Ripping my eyes open somehow, they had slid shut during the kiss. I saw the figure of a dark-skinned young maid in the doorway. Her eyes went wide at the sight of us, but nowhere near as wide as my eyes went at the sight of her seeing us. Oh, a small smile spread over her face. Excuse, please, lady, sir. I not know anyone in here. Most sorry. I see nothing, nothing at all. I opened my mouth to give some explanation, any explanation that would explain away my having my lips pressed to Mr. Ambrose's lips that didn't involve a passionate kiss. Mr. Ambrose was faster. No problem, he said, with a dismissive wave, turning around, and bending towards me to place tender kiss on my cheek. We have all the rest of the day still left, after all. And then he winked. Mr. Ambrose, Mr. I am a block of stone. Ambrose winked. Or at least he moved his eyelid. Maybe he was just getting rid of a speck of dust. But to the maid, it sure as hell looked as if he was winking. Winking. The maid giggled and curtsied. Yes, sir, lady. I not interrupt again, sir, lady. I not see anything. And with that, she turned and hurried from the room, closing the door behind her. I turned to gape up at the man beside. What have you done? Now the entire hotel will think we are married, he inquired. Yes, no, I don't know. Could you clarify that a little? She's going to tell her friends, and they're going to tell their friends, and they their friends, and in half an hour it'll be all over the hotel that we are in here doing stuff. He cocked his head. If not for the fact that this was Mr. Ambrose, a man who had as much emotion inside him as a volcano had snow, I might have thought there was amusement in his eyes. Stuff. I felt my ears starting to burn. You know, honeymoon stuff, which, considering the fact that we are supposed to be on our honeymoon, would be utterly scandalous, of course. My ears were in danger of spontaneous combustion by now. You're impossible. I tried to twist out of his hold, but his hands were too strong, blast him. Pulling me closer, he leaned down towards my face. His eyes darkened, and his lips opened a fraction. Don't you dare. My protest was cut off by our mouths melding together, and I, instead of picking up the vase on bedside table beside me and smashing it over his rock-hard head, like I should have done, snaked my arms around his neck and pulled him closer. God, what was wrong with me? When we finally broke apart, I was panting like a panther. He, of course, was so cool and collected you'd think he was freshly imported from Iceland. His dark eyes bored into me. I think we have discussed the matter of convincingly acting the married couple thoroughly enough for today, don't you? His voice was just as cool as the rest of him, damn him. How was that possible? I was panting, burning up inside with a hot, persistent need to do something, do anything, preferably with him, and he just stood there, gazing at me with those unfathomable eyes. I raised my chin. I quite agree. Adequate. Raising one hand, he stroked one long, lean finger down the side of my face. It's quite late. What do you say to a romantic candlelit dinner on the hotel terrace, my dearest love? I fancy not many people could manage to make the words, my dearest love, sound like, my obedient minion. Richard Ambrose did it without the slightest problem. I bridled. You can take your romantic dinner and shove it up your... Let me rephrase. He cut me off. His arms were like a vice around me, holding me in place. We will go down and have a romantic candlelit dinner. Now. I glared up at him, feeling sparks fly from my eyes. And we'll smile, and giggle and show everyone how very much in love we are. That, and we will discuss how best to hunt bloodthirsty bandits in the desert. How very romantic. I always do my best. Leaning forward lightning fast, he brushed his lips against mine, hardly a touch, nothing compared to what he had done before, and yet. It was a promise of things to come. Good Lord, what had I gotten myself into? Releasing me from his hold and stepping away, Mr. Richard Ambrose marched over to the door, turned and held his hand out towards me. His dark eyes seemed to gleam in the failing light. Come, my love. The plight of my plighted troth. Some things that happen to you make you feel really strange. You know the moments I mean, those moments where the world is standing on its head and everything suddenly seems unreal. Like, for instance, the time I discovered that my innocent little sister Ella had for years been conducting an illicit affair behind her family's back. Or the time a gentleman I had been dancing with at a ball complimented me on what good a dancer I was, after I had trampled on his feet the whole evening. Or the time my aunt actually, once in her life, said something nice to me in front of witnesses. But none of these strange and mysterious occurrences, inexplicable and awe-inspiring though no doubt they were, could in any way compete with what was happening right now. None of these events had made me feel half as strange as I felt walking down the corridor of the Hotel Luxor in a dark red silk dress, a sparkling wedding ring on my finger and a darkly handsome Richard Ambrose on my arm. Oh dear, merciful God, what is happening to me? But if I had thought it would be strange to just be walking beside Mr. Ambrose, I hadn't reckoned with the real trouble, having other people see me walk beside him. A lot of people. After a few more yards, the corridor widened into a hallway. Passing a few potted plants obscuring our view, we stepped onto the landing of a broad, sweeping staircase that led down into a gigantic room, canopied by an ornate glass roof and countless palms, ferns and papyrus plants, growing in gleaming copper bowls. In the gaps of the roof of green above, I could just make out a few stars twinkling in the slowly falling night outside. It was when I looked down from the stars that I noticed the people for the first time. Oh my God, please, let me die now. People, hundreds of them, and not just any kinds of people, high society, as high as you could get. Ladies in exquisite dresses, bedecked with jewelry, gentlemen in sleek black tailcoats, with golden watches and monocles tucked into their eyes. They were all sitting around tables, chatting, laughing, and feasting. There really was no other word for it. The meals looked delicious. The platters, cutlery and glasses twinkled in the candlelight, shining with jewels and precious metals. If there had been a few camels and gins, it would have looked like a scene from the Arabian Nights. How much did a reservation in this place cost, exactly? I asked out of the corner of my mouth, my eyes wide. Too much, came the dark reply from Mr. Ambrose's direction. Don't remind me. Keep walking, and smile. I smiled as sweetly as a fairy godmother with a sugar addiction. Yes, Dick, my dear. Of course, Dick, my dear. A noise came from the back of his throat. It was somewhere between a volcano rumbling and a breaking iceberg. When this is all over, we're going to have a long talk, you and I. I look forward to it, Dick, my dear. Walk, and smile. We reached the top of the staircase. Talk down in the dining room sank to a murmur, and faces turned towards us. Only a few at first, but the moment the first female caught an eyeful of Mr. Ambrose, her jaw dropped onto her plate. Without bothering to fish it out of her soup, she tapped her friend on the shoulder, and as she turned, so did the lady beside her. The ripple spread through the great hall. By the time we were halfway down the stairs, most of the women in the room were staring at us, and a goodly portion of the gentlemen. The wedding ring on my finger was like a burning brand. I held my breath, waiting for someone to scream, "Imposter." But nothing happened. Well, nothing except most of the women in the room undressing Mr. Ambrose with one look and wishing me dead with the next. I leaned towards Mr. Ambrose. "Congratulations. So far we seem to be very inconspicuous. I think the entire room is staring at us, with the possible exception of that old lady in the corner, who is probably deaf and half-blind." "Lillian, my love," the words were ice shards, his eyes threatening maelstroms of dark color. "Hold your tongue and smile, will you?" Why the heck did that make me want to grab him by the ears again and kiss him senseless? "Why, certainly, Dick. Oh, by the way, my friends call me Lily. You may, too. We are married, after all." He cocked his head, and regarded me like a lion ready to swallow me whole. "Thank you, Lillian." A waiter appeared in front of us, and bowed deeply enough for the Emperor of China. "Welcome to the dining room, Mr. and Mrs. Thompson." Who the bloody hell was he, Tal? Oh, right, I was Mrs. Thompson. Straightening, I clutched Mr. Ambrose more tightly and lifted my chin in the air, trying to look as married as possible. "Do you wish a particular table, sir, madam?" Mr. Ambrose gave a curt nod. "On the terrace, if there's one free." "Certainly, sir. Please follow me, sir, madam." Unbending himself, the waiter started across the dining room, weaving through the tables with ease. We followed, until we came to a large set of ornate double doors, opening on a luxurious terrace from which one could still see the sun, sinking in the distance over the ocean. The glare of fiery colors upon the waves was a sight to see. "Your table, sir, madam." With a flourish, the waiter indicated a table right beside the railing, where the view was even more spectacular. Stepping up to the stone balustrade, I could see the lights of the ancient city of Alexandria glowing beneath me. History was thick in the air, an atmosphere that vibrated around us. "Do you wish a menu?" the waiter inquired. Mr. Ambrose nodded. "Two, please. One each, for me and the lady." "Certainly, sir. I won't be a moment." He disappeared, and Mr. Ambrose stepped up to the table, drawing back a chair. I was still looking at the city, trying to make out the pattern of streets in the glowing lights. When I looked back at the table, Mr. Ambrose was still standing there like a statue, holding the chair. I stood there, watching him. He stood there, the back of the chair clutched in his hands, his eyes growing darker. I frowned. What's the matter with him? It was only then that I realized. He's pulled the chair out for me. Slowly but surely, a grin spread over my face. This, being married, business might actually be some fun for a while. "The city looks beautiful, isn't it?" I sighed, demonstratively leaning on the balustrade.